a global commitment to biodiversity. The Kunming-Montreal Framework. The natural world is in crisis. We are facing an unprecedented loss of biodiversity. This loss threatens the delicate balance of our planet. In response, the world came together in 2022. We adopted the Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework. This landmark agreement sets the course for global biodiversity conservation to 2030. India's rich biodiversity, a treasure worth protecting. India is a land of extraordinary biodiversity. From the towering Himalayas to the lush Western Ghats, India is a tapestry of life. It is one of the world's 17 mega-diverse countries. These nations harbor the majority of Earth's species. India is home to over 8% of the world's known species. This incredible diversity is found within its borders. India's diverse ecosystems range from high-altitude deserts to tropical rainforests. They include grasslands, wetlands, and coral reefs. This variety of habitat supports a remarkable array of plants and animals. Many of these species are endemic to India. This means they are found nowhere else on Earth. This rich biodiversity is not just a source of national pride, it is the foundation of India's ecological security. It underpins the livelihoods of millions of Indians. They depend on healthy ecosystems. These ecosystems provide food, water, and other essential services. Confronting the threats. India's pledge for conservation. India's biodiversity faces growing threats. Habitat loss and fragmentation are major concerns. As human populations grow, so does the demand for land. This leads to the conversion of natural habitats for agriculture, infrastructure, and urban development. It makes them more vulnerable to extinction. Overexploitation of natural resources is another significant threat. Unsustainable fishing practices, illegal wildlife trade, and overgrazing are taking their toll. Climate change is also a growing concern. It is altering ecosystems and threatening species survival. India is already experiencing the impacts of a changing climate. These impacts include more frequent and intense heat waves, droughts, and floods. Recognizing these challenges, India has made a strong commitment to biodiversity conservation. India is a party to the Convention on Biological Diversity, or CBD. This international treaty aims to conserve biological diversity. It promotes the sustainable use of its components. India has also developed its National Biodiversity Strategy and Action Plan, or NBSAP. Charting the course objectives of India's NBSAP. India's NBSAP is a roadmap for the nation's biodiversity conservation efforts. It aligns with the goals and targets of the KM-GBF. The NBSAP outlines a comprehensive framework for action. It addresses the drivers of biodiversity loss. It promotes the sustainable use of biological resources. It ensures the fair and equitable sharing of benefits arising from the use of genetic resources. The plan has 5 overarching objectives. The first is to strengthen the legal and policy framework for biodiversity conservation. The second is to mainstream biodiversity across sectors. This means integrating biodiversity considerations into all relevant policies and plans. The third objective is to enhance the management of protected areas. The fourth objective is to promote sustainable use of biological resources. This includes promoting sustainable agriculture, forestry, and fisheries practices. The final objective is to strengthen institutional mechanisms for biodiversity conservation. This involves building capacity and improving coordination among different stakeholders. Section 5. A closer look. Key features and national challenges. India's NBSAP stands out for its comprehensive approach. It recognizes the importance of addressing the underlying causes of biodiversity loss. It goes beyond traditional conservation measures. It emphasizes the need for mainstreaming biodiversity. It promotes sustainable use across different sectors. The plan acknowledges the importance of community participation. Local communities are on the front lines of conservation. They possess valuable knowledge and practices. The NBSAP seeks to empower these communities. It involves them in decision-making processes. It recognizes their role as custodians of biodiversity. However, India faces significant challenges in implementing its NBSAP. Rapid economic development and population growth put pressure on natural resources. Poverty and inequality exacerbate these challenges. They often lead to the overexploitation of natural resources. Addressing these underlying drivers of biodiversity loss is crucial. Section 6. Turning the tide. NBSAP targets for reducing threats. The NBSAP sets specific targets for reducing threats to biodiversity. These targets are ambitious but achievable. They require a concerted effort from all stakeholders. This includes government agencies, civil society organizations, the private sector, and local communities. One key target is to reduce the rate of habitat loss and fragmentation. This involves strengthening protected area networks. It includes promoting sustainable land use planning. Another target is to combat the illegal wildlife trade. This requires strengthening law enforcement and raising public awareness. The NBSAP also aims to reduce pollution from various sources. This includes reducing agricultural runoff, industrial effluent, and plastic pollution. Climate change adaptation and mitigation are integrated into the plan. This recognizes the growing threat of climate change to biodiversity. Section 7. Combating invaders. Managing invasive species in India. Invasive alien species pose a significant threat to India's biodiversity. These species can outcompete native species. They disrupt ecosystems. They cause significant economic damage. The NBSAP recognizes this threat. It includes measures to prevent the introduction and spread of invasive species. The plan calls for strengthening border control measures. This helps prevent the entry of invasive species. It promotes early detection and rapid response mechanisms. These mechanisms help control the spread of invasive species that do manage to enter the country. The NBSAP also emphasizes the importance of public awareness. People need to understand the impacts of invasive species. They can help prevent their spread. This includes being careful not to introduce exotic plants or animals. It involves reporting any sightings of potential invasive species. Section 8. The price of protection funding. India's biodiversity goals. Implementing India's NBSAP requires substantial financial resources. These resources are needed to strengthen institutions. They support research and monitoring programs. They implement conservation actions on the ground. The plan recognizes the need for increased investments in biodiversity conservation. The NBSAP explores various funding mechanisms. This includes increasing budgetary allocations for biodiversity conservation. It involves leveraging private sector investments. It promotes innovative financing mechanisms like biodiversity offsets and payments for ecosystem services. International cooperation is also crucial. Developed countries have a responsibility to support developing nations. They can help them achieve their biodiversity conservation goals. This support can come in the form of financial assistance, technology transfer, and capacity building. Section 9. A shared responsibility. India's call for global collaboration. India's commitment to biodiversity conservation is evident in its ambitious NBSAP. The plan reflects the country's determination to protect its natural heritage. It recognizes the interconnectedness of biodiversity with human well-being. However, India cannot do it alone. Addressing the global biodiversity crisis requires a collective effort. All countries must fulfill their commitments under the KM-GBF. This includes developed nations providing financial and technical support to developing countries. It involves fostering international collaboration in research, monitoring, and conservation efforts. India's NBSAP is a testament to the country's leadership in global biodiversity conservation. By working together, we can protect our planet's precious biodiversity. We can secure a sustainable future for all. Please like, share, and subscribe Cosmo Academia.